My name's Marcus, I'm 32, and up until a few months ago, I was in a long-term relationship with a woman I thought I was going to marry. Her name was Tessa. We'd been together for years, lived together for 2.5, shared bills, dreams, Spotify accounts, all the things that made us feel like a unit. I supported her through 2 job changes, 1 minor surgery, and an extended period of unemployment when her startup folded. I was happy to do it, honestly. I loved her. And I believed, at the time, that we were building something long-term, together. But the truth is, I think she just got comfortable. The thing about relationships is, you don't really notice the rot until the floorboards give out beneath your feet. At least, I didn't. Looking back, there were signs. Subtle ones. Like how she used to light up when I'd walk through the door after work, and then, one day, she just didn't. Or how her girls' nights got more frequent, while our date nights became, let's just order in. I'm tired. Or can we reschedule? I have a headache. Little things you ignore because you assume stress, or work, or life is just getting in the way. But sometimes, it's not stress. It's indifference dressed up as exhaustion. A few months ago, I landed a promotion at work. It wasn't just any promotion. It was one I'd been grinding for over 2 years. Late nights, weekends, taking on projects no one wanted, traveling across the country to fix client relationships others had burned. It was exhausting, but it paid off. I was promoted to senior operations lead with a solid raise, stock options, and my own small team. I was proud, not just of the title, but of the journey it took to get there. I couldn't wait to celebrate with Tessa. I envisioned a nice dinner, a toast, maybe even a cheesy card from her with a heartfelt note. Something. Anything. When I told her, I expected excitement. Maybe a hug, a smile. I knew you'd do it. Instead, she blinked, said, "That's great, babe," and went back to scrolling on her phone. I stood there holding the printout of my offer letter, stunned, like I'd just read her a weather report. "Should we go out tonight?" I asked, trying to inject a little hope. She sighed and said, "I'm really tired. Can we just do something this weekend?" I told myself it was fine. People get tired. Long day, maybe her back was acting up again. I ordered her favorite sushi, poured us a drink, and we stayed in. She didn't even finish her roll, fell asleep halfway through an episode of a show I'd been waiting to binge with her. I put a blanket over her and cleaned up the plates, told myself to let it go, that the weekend would be better. But that night, later, around 1 a.m., I woke up to use the bathroom and noticed the bed was empty. Her phone, which she usually kept on the nightstand, was gone too. I went out into the hallway, but the apartment was quiet. Her purse was missing. So were the heels I bought her for her birthday last month, the nude stilettos she said were too nice to wear casually. At first, I worried. Texted her. No reply. Called. Straight to voicemail. I paced around the apartment, unsure whether I was overreacting or if something was actually wrong. I ended up crashing on the couch, fully dressed, waiting for her to come home. She didn't. The next morning, she waltzed in around 8 a.m., still wearing those heels, her eyeliner slightly smudged, reeking of club-grade perfume and vodka. She looked like she hadn't slept. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her. "You said you were too tired to celebrate with me," I said quietly. "Where were you?" She didn't flinch. Just laughed. "It was just one night, Marcus. Grow up." Like I was being dramatic. Like this was nothing. She poured herself a glass of water and made a show of taking off her earrings like I hadn't been losing my mind all night. I didn't yell, didn't curse. I just nodded. And in that moment, something inside me hardened. See, I'm not the type to cause a scene. I don't throw plates or storm out. But I do take notes. And I'm methodical. That weekend, while she slept off whatever she did the night before, I got to work. First, I went to our leasing portal and downloaded a lease termination form. The apartment was in my name. She'd moved in with me. I'd been paying 70% of the rent, even when she was unemployed, and I'd never once asked her to catch up. But now, I was done. I didn't file it yet. I wanted to be smart, calculated. I wanted her to feel the shift, not hear it. Over the next 2 days, I moved my important documents, sentimental items, and anything irreplaceable to my office. Told her I had a major work project that required long hours, which wasn't even a lie. I just used that time to prepare. I even stayed late at work intentionally, just so I didn't have to go home and look at her. Then came the group chat. We had a friends group we both used, 8 of us total, from college days. We used it to plan trips, birthdays, random dinners. She loved it. Thrived on being the one to drop memes and stir up gossip. I created a new group without her. quietly added everyone. Explained the situation honestly. Hey guys, just a heads up, Tessa and I are breaking up. I'll explain more later, but for now please don't mention anything in the old chat. Appreciate the discretion. Most of them were shocked. A couple messaged privately, saying they'd seen the signs. One of the girls sent me a screenshot that made my stomach drop, a photo from that Friday night. Tessa at a club, dancing with some guy. His hand way too familiar on her waist. Caption, finally out with the right energy, and the shoes, yep. Mine. The same ones I got for her because she'd said they made her feel powerful. 2 days later, I timed everything perfectly. I filed the lease termination first thing in the morning. Scheduled the locks to be changed by noon. Left work around 3 p.m. to clear out the last of my stuff. By 4 p.m., she texted, "Can you grab oat milk on your way home?" I didn't answer. By 5:30, she was pounding on the door, shouting my name. I was already gone. The group chat? Already deleted her. Someone posted a meme right after, like nothing happened. She sent me 10 messages in a row, all caps, full of question marks and exclamation points. Then a missed call. Then another. Then, what is this? Followed by, Marcus, are you serious right now? I didn't reply. She called my office line the next day. My assistant told her I wasn't available. She tried my best friend next, he told her. Marcus asked for space. Respected. She tried guilt. Then rage. Then pity. Then threats. Then back to pity. I stayed silent. But that's not where the story ends. Not even close. She still had no idea what was coming. Because while the apartment door was locked and the group chat had gone quiet, there were still strings tying her to me, subscriptions, accounts, connections she'd leaned on for convenience. Spotify, Netflix, Amazon, even the car insurance. We were both on a joint policy to save money. I gave it 2 more days. Let her stew. Let her text, call, panic. Then I went through each account one by one and surgically removed her. I started with the simple ones. Spotify? Logged her out remotely. Changed the password. Then the Netflix account. She was midway through some show, and I imagined her curling up with her drink and blanket, only to see the sign and screen blinking back at her like a cold shoulder. I smiled. It felt petty, sure, but it also felt like reclaiming inches of myself I'd been unconsciously giving up for years. Then came the Amazon account. This one was especially satisfying. I changed the password, deleted the saved addresses, and removed the card she loved using. A card, mind you, she never paid off, not once. I even found a few Prime orders she'd placed recently and canceled them. One of them was a designer candle she'd been hyping up to her friends. I replaced it with a bulk order of off-brand tissues. Just because. I handled the shared insurance accounts next. That was the real clincher. I updated the policy, removed her as a secondary driver, and got a discount. That discount felt better than the promotion. She noticed all of this, of course. The text ramped up, no longer angry, but confused. Hey, did something happen with the Netflix? Did we get hacked? Why can't I log into Amazon? I didn't respond. Not a word. But her spiral was becoming visible, even online. She posted a vaguely dramatic story. Imagine giving your all to someone and getting blindsided, LOL. Someone replied with a popcorn gif. I almost felt bad. Almost. A week passed. That's when she showed up at my job. I was sitting in my office, deep in a report, when my assistant buzzed in. Marcus, there's a woman in the lobby asking to see you. She says it's urgent. My heart dropped. I hadn't told Tessa where I worked exactly. I just said Midtown and let it stay vague. But I guess she still had the old emails with the company signature. Rookie mistake. I stood, straightened my shirt, and walked out. She was standing by the front desk in a long coat, hair slightly frizzed, eyes red like she'd been crying. She rushed up the moment she saw me. Marcus, what is going on? She asked, voice cracking. I kept my tone calm, professional, cold. You shouldn't be here. What is this? She gestured vaguely. You lock me out, block me from everything, delete me from the group. What did I even do? That question hung in the air like a storm cloud. I stared at her for a moment, then said, You told me to grow up because I was upset that you went clubbing the night of my promotion. You wore the shoes I bought you. You lied. And you laughed in my face. That's what you did. She opened her mouth to speak, but I wasn't done. You haven't been present in this relationship for months, Tessa. You stopped trying. I bent backwards for you, covered for you, cheered you on, even when you were barely hanging on. The one time I asked for celebration, for support, you disappeared. And then you laughed about it. Her eyes flickered. Something behind them shifted, panic, maybe, or realization. Marcus, it was just one night. You're seriously doing all this over one night? That's when I smiled. A small, controlled smile. No, Tessa. I'm doing this over every night you made me feel like I didn't matter. That night was just the final straw. She blinked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I nodded. I know. She didn't cry right then. I think she wanted to. But she was too stunned. Too caught off guard by the version of me that wasn't pleading, compromising, or chasing. I turned and walked away without another word. But if she thought that was the end, she was wrong. Because there was one last thread to cut, one she didn't even realize I still had. A few months prior, I'd helped her build a portfolio. She wanted to get into social media consulting and had asked me to design a sleek website, write her bios, and even pitch her to a few contacts I had. I did all of it. I bought the domain in her name and hosted it under my business account to save her money. She never asked to take it over, never offered to pay. So I logged into the dashboard and transferred ownership to her. Fully. But not before stripping the portfolio bare and replacing the site with a simple landing page. This site is no longer maintained. Please contact the owner directly for updates. That same night, I got a message from a former colleague. Hey, man, Tessa just applied to consult for our team. Just wanted to double check. Didn't she ghost your promotion dinner? He followed it up with, yeah, we're probably passing. I didn't reply to him either. But I knew the message had landed. The silence was louder than anything I could have said. After that confrontation in the lobby, she didn't show up again. No more pop-in visits, no new texts. It was like she evaporated overnight. But I knew better. Tessa didn't go away, she regrouped. I'd seen it before. She was the type who'd cry for sympathy in private but spin the story in public until she looked like the misunderstood heroine. I braced for it. Sure enough, the next sign came not through her, but through mutuals. A few friends, especially the ones who'd been closer to her, started acting different, distant. A couple left the new group chat without a word. One of them, Nina, texted me a short but pointed message. I'm not taking sides, but this all seems really harsh. Just saying. I didn't respond. I'd already said my piece, and if someone needed a side to take after everything, then I didn't need them in my corner anyway. But the worst part wasn't the passive-aggressive texts or the friend group fracturing. It was the fact that she went to my parents. Now, let me explain. My relationship with my parents has always been complicated. Not estranged or toxic, but a bit formal. They're good people, but old school. Stoic. We don't talk feelings, we talk logistics. Promotions, investments, timelines. So when they called me on a Sunday afternoon and said, we had dinner with Tessa last night, my stomach dropped. She reached out, my mom continued. Said she was heartbroken. That you kicked her out with no warning. I could feel my jaw clench. And what did you say? There was a pause. Then my dad spoke. We told her that sounded unlike you. But we didn't know what to think. And there it was. She manipulated you, I said quietly. She ignored me on one of the biggest nights of my life. Went out clubbing in shoes I bought her, laughed when I called her on it, and vanished for the night. Then acted like I was the one being dramatic when I asked why she didn't show up. I gave her 4 years. She couldn't give me one night. They were silent. I could tell they believed me, but didn't know what to do with it. That was the worst part. The damage wasn't just her behavior, it was the way she made me explain myself to people who should have already had my back. And yet, I wasn't done. Because the final blow, her real punishment, wasn't the locked apartment, or the lost accounts, or the job opportunities that slipped away when I quietly let some contacts know what had happened. It was the one thing she never expected me to take away, the narrative. Tessa had always controlled the story. She was magnetic, charming at dinners, bubbly on social media, good at making herself the victim in any argument. I used to admire that about her, until I realized it was a smokescreen. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I wrote everything down. Our story. The whole thing, from the moment we met, to the way she drifted, to the night of the promotion, to the locked door. I didn't post it anywhere public, but I did send it privately to a few people who deserve the truth. Nina, the 2 friends who left the group chat, even my own parents. I didn't embellish. I didn't dramatize. I just told the truth. And slowly, the tide shifted. Nina called me a few days later. I'm sorry, she said, sounding genuinely ashamed. I didn't know. She made it sound like you just snapped for no reason. She's good at that, I said simply. Others followed suit. Some didn't say anything, but came back to the group chat quietly. Others sent a thumbs up emoji or a vague, "Hope you're doing okay." It wasn't much, but it was enough. The silence turned into support. And then, one morning about 3 weeks later, I got the message that told me everything I needed to know. It was from Tessa's best friend, someone who had always been fiercely in her corner, always a bit icy to me, even when things were good. She and I had barely ever spoken one-on-one. But her message was simple. "Hey, I thought you should know Tessa moved back in with her parents. She's been crying nonstop. She said you ruined her life. I just figured, maybe that means you finally got your life back." I stared at the screen for a long time. And then, without thinking, I laughed. Not because I enjoyed her pain, but because I finally understood that I didn't need her to understand why I did what I did. She didn't have to see the point. The point was, I had one. For years, I bent, adjusted, swallowed things I should have spoken up about. I made excuses, minimized red flags, and gave more than I got because I thought that was love. But real love doesn't demand your silence. It doesn't ask you to shrink. She thought she could disappear for a night and waltz back in like nothing happened. That I'd forgive. That I'd move on without ever standing up for myself. She thought I wouldn't change the locks. She thought wrong. I didn't reply to her best friend. I didn't need to. That message, "She said you ruined her life," wasn't something I ever set out to achieve. It wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about boundaries. About showing her, and maybe even reminding myself, that I could stand up and walk away when someone stopped treating me with respect. That I wasn't some passive fixture in her life to be switched on when she felt like being in a relationship and ignored when she didn't. But the ending didn't come all at once. Healing never does. It's not a movie where the credits roll after a big monologue or dramatic walk away. It's slow, uneven, quiet. Some days felt freeing. Other days I caught myself scrolling through old photos, remembering the nights we laughed until 2 a.m., the road trips where we played awful playlists, the notes she used to leave in my lunch when she still cared enough to pack it. I missed those parts. But I also reminded myself, I was in love with potential. With the version of her I saw in the beginning. The version she stopped being long ago. I focused on rebuilding quietly. I finally set up my home office the way I always wanted. Got a new couch, not because I needed one, but because the old one still smelled like her perfume, and some ghosts aren't worth keeping. I started cooking again. Joined a gym. Reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in months, friends who'd subtly drifted away because I was always choosing her over everything else. One night, maybe a month after it all fell apart, I ran into her by accident. It was at a rooftop bar, one I used to take her to back when things were good. I'd forgotten it was her favorite. I was there with a few coworkers, and we were celebrating a successful quarter. Everyone was 2 cocktails deep when I heard my name. Marcus. I turned, and there she was. Tessa. She looked smaller. Not physically, but energy-wise. Like the shine had worn off. She wore a denim jacket over a sundress that used to be her go-to for summer nights out. Her makeup was immaculate, but her eyes, those gave her away. They weren't cold or smug or mocking. They were tired and nervous. "Hi," I said, calmly. "Can we talk?" she asked, softly. "Just 5 minutes?" I glanced at my group. They were laughing over something, completely unaware of the miniature storm forming just a few feet away. I nodded. "Sure." We stepped to the far end of the terrace, near the railing. The city stretched out beneath us in all directions, thousands of lives moving forward, none of them stopping for moments like this. She took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about everything. A lot." I said nothing. Just watched her. "I messed up," she continued. "And not just that night. I stopped showing up. I stopped appreciating you. I thought, I don't know, that you'd always be there." There was genuine remorse in her voice. Not performative. Not like when she used to cry after an argument just to avoid being the bad guy. This felt different. She wasn't begging. She wasn't yelling. She was just small. Human. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," she added. "Not because I want anything. I know I burned that bridge. I just needed you to know." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel angry, or bitter, or hollow. I just felt done. "I appreciate that," I said. "I do." Her lips trembled slightly, but she held it together. "I still think about you." I nodded. "I still think about the version of us I hoped we'd be." That hit her. She looked down at the floor for a long moment. When she looked up again, her voice was barely audible. "You're doing better now, aren't you?" "Yes," I said. "I am." And I was. Not just because I'd cut her out. but because I'd finally learned that my peace was worth protecting. That love should never feel like walking on eggshells. That if you have to beg someone to celebrate your wins, they were never in your corner to begin with. She offered a small, sad smile. Take care of yourself, Marcus. You too, Tessa. And that was it. No tears. No hug. No desperate last-ditch apology or big speech. She turned and walked away. And I let her. No part of me wanted to call her back. That night, I stood at the railing for a few more minutes, just watching the lights. I thought about all the nights I'd spent waiting for her to come home. All the texts I'd reread. All the birthdays, anniversaries, little victories I'd downplayed because she wasn't in the mood. I thought about how much time I'd wasted trying to be enough for someone who never saw me as more than a placeholder. And I promised myself, right then and there, that I'd never shrink again. The funny thing is, the promotion that started it all? It became the least important thing to come out of that year. What mattered more was what it taught me. About love. About self-worth. About how letting someone back into your life just because they're sorry is like putting a bent key back into a lock and wondering why the door won't open. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped hoping for more closure. Because I realized, finally, that closure isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you decide to take. And I had taken it. So yeah, that's how it ended. Not with a blow-up. Not with screaming or blocking or slamming doors. Just a quiet, firm decision to choose myself. And once I did, the silence was peaceful.